You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, a place to learn about how to grow your business and stay ahead of technological advances before they become mainstream. This episode is sponsored by Ingram Micro's Xvantage, the next level way to transform your business's potential and reshape how customers see you through advanced transactional data. Let's get into it. Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Shelby Skrhak, and our guest today is Bobby Young, technology consultant for Ingram Micro. Bobby, welcome.
Hi, Shelby. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Well, so today we are talking about the Cisco specialization track, some of the changes that are coming for partners. But let's set the scene then of what we're talking about. So what are these Cisco solution specializations? And they're for Cisco partners, I understand, but what are they and how do they relate to like certifications, for example?
Yeah, that's a great question. So these solution specializations are a little bit different than the way that Cisco and really most vendors have done it in the past, right? Most of the time, we see partners very, very siloed in their organizations, right? I specialize in security, right? I specialize in collaboration. That's all I do. With these solution specializations, by nature, they are cross-architecture. So for something like of the 6 that we have, one of them, for instance, is hybrid work from office. If you look at that solution by itself, it is by nature multi-architecture. It's not like you can get somebody, this hybrid work environment or, work from home and hoteling desks at the office. That's not just a collaboration play. It's not just a security play. It's not just an enterprise networking play. That solution itself kind of combines all of those functions to create that full solution. So if you're going out selling just WebEx to an end user and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to get you working from home. We got this WebEx suite. It's going to be able to do all this collaboration. That's a great start, but they're still going to somebody else, right? They're not talking to you. They're talking to someone else in regards to those other parts of the solution, right?
Because, there's other pieces that they need. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the wireless access points going back into the office to create that kind of hoteling desk arena. You have people working from home that have to have some sort of VPN. Sometimes they actually use their own firewall that has kind of a work from home office, built at their house. So of those 6 new solution specializations, again, all of them are kind of cross architecture by nature. And it really is kind of the new normal when it comes to these specializations, because we don't really see a lot of partners that are being successful just siloed in kind of one architecture and just doing that one thing.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is that, the silos we know are largely the problem and why companies are coming to partners, managed service providers, whatever the case may be, to help solve some of these challenges that they have. So you mentioned the 6 specializations. I wonder if we can go over those and just tell us a little bit about each one.
Yeah, absolutely. So of the 6 specializations, 3 of them were announced last September. The other 3 were announced in November. The first 3 were full stack observability, which is basically kind of a mixture of a little bit, I would say, data center mixed with enterprise networking, right? So kind of, the ability to have a little bit more visibility into your enterprise network. Uses things like Cisco Thousand Eyes to be able to kind of backtrack your data and be able to kind of see this almost cloud-like solution, from a very, very high level, rather than, just connecting switch ports and connecting endpoints to networks. The next one is, like I mentioned, hybrid work from office. So, as we talked about, it's kind of the marrying of the security solutions mixed with collaboration solutions and also a bit of enterprise networking as well. The third one on that list is the Secure Access Service Edge, kind of a buzzword we've seen over the last couple of years, also called SASE. It was a solution that was really developed by Gartner that didn't really have like a SKU involved. You can't really go to any vendor nowadays and say, hey, I'd like one SASE solution, please, right?
Right.
It was more a concept of saying, hey, this is a concept that we see to be able to kind of, think of it as kind of a blanket of security over your networking as well, right? So not just connecting things to each other, but having this kind of overall network security that's involved in every single connection, whether or not somebody's in the office, working from home, working from a Starbucks, that same kind of that whole blanket security kind of covering the entire connection to the cloud.
And just to clarify, the service edge part of that, is this hybrid? Is this cloud? Is this, on the edge? What is it?
So then in November, they announced 3 more that were pretty similar in nature in the sense that they're all kind of data center centric. One of them is called hybrid cloud computing, hybrid cloud networking, and then hybrid cloud software. Think of it kind of the splitting up of what used to be advanced data center and really calling it hybrid cloud, right? We get away from the idea that you're physically going into a data center and managing it locally and really talking about, kind of that data center concept that is more relevant nowadays, which is that hybrid cloud, right? I have some things in Office, I have some things in AWS or these other things as well. And so hybrid cloud computing is going to be focused on the kind of computing part of it, right? The actual management. Hybrid cloud networking is going to be, connecting all of those pieces together. And then hybrid cloud software is kind of the management blanket over the whole thing as well.
So understanding, these 6 specializations, then you're able to provide a more comprehensive instead of, just focusing on the security part of it, but ignoring, well, actually, I guess a better example would be just focusing on the collaboration part, but ignoring the inherent security that you need there. That was the idea behind kind of putting together these 6 specializations, right?
Yeah. And like I said before, it's if you're not selling that other part of the solution, somebody is, right? You're going in, it's that whole, what Cisco calls selling business outcomes rather than selling these kind of piecemeal, hey, I want to switch, right? Even just as simple as a concept of somebody selling a switch, right? Somebody's going to sell them the cables, right? That's just a basic add-on that we've been doing that for, do you want fries with that, right?
Right.
This is kind of a step up from that, right? And taking that whole concept, going to your end user with that business outcome in mind, right? Saying, what do you want to do from a business side? I want to connect better with my customers, right? I want to connect to, my hotel wants to connect better with, with its, the people that are coming into it. Great. Well, we have this whole solution then that, that has wireless, it has, splash pages, it has kind of that whole solution that all the technology solves, but really you're talking about that business outcome as a concept. You're talking about that whole solution with the end user and then filling in the blanks with all the technology in the background.
And that's just it's a more complete way to, for MSPs and partners to be able to help their customers. And it makes perfect sense. And it's exciting to see kind of this change of, I don't want to say change, but, understanding that customers don't need widgets, they need solutions. And so being able to provide those. So within these specializations for partners, there are VIP rebate programs, as I understand. So how does the rebate program work?
That's a great question. So traditionally, again, VIP, we're now on VIP 41, right? Because this is the 41st rendition of the VIP program, each of them running around 6 months. So it is definitely a very, very old program if you can do the math. VIP traditionally, value incentive program, has been around to be able to incent partners to be able to sell certain solutions, right? Certain products and solutions, and incenting them to go out and get these specializations so that they can go out and really be dangerous selling those products, right? With all of the, the knowledge and the demos and everything at their back, right? Having somebody who is certified and being able to, I'm a CCNP wireless, right? That person's going to be able to talk wireless much better than somebody who's not certified anything. So this program has kind of been in the past, being able to say, hey, look, we know you've put a lot of effort into making sure that you have certified individuals on your team. We want to incent you by giving you a back-end rebate based on what you sell in those, kind of siloed solutions that they've had in the past. Mm-hmm. Again, they've consistently up until really, VIP 41, all of those solutions have been siloed in those architectures that we said we're kind of getting away from, right? So, hey, if somebody goes out and gets the advanced collaboration specialization, then they get some VIP rebates every time they sell something like a telepresence endpoint or Cisco WebEx suite. The big difference on 41 is that with these solution specializations, they've actually allowed partners to get a rebate based off of kind of multiple product sets, right? Multiple architectures. So if, for example, you're authorized and specialized in hybrid work from office, you can now get rebates based off of selling WebEx Suite, some Meraki products, Cisco security, some stuff like Umbrella, all of that kind of, as a blanket, as just being specialized in hybrid work from office.
Got it. No, that makes sense. And so we are on the 41st incarnation of this. Can you talk about any of the changes then that we're seeing for this latest version of the program?
Yeah, so that's where it gets a little tricky, and the reason we're really having kind of this tech talk and it being a little bit of bigger deal than it has been in the past, because there were some pretty major changes that were done. The first one, again, and you kind of have to step back and look at why things are and kind of how they come to be, and it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Traditionally, in the past, there has always been a kind of a minimum spend, a minimum purchase requirement that a partner would have to have within a certain architecture to be able to get the rebate, from that architecture. So, hey, in collaboration, for example, and I'm not sure if these numbers are right, but for collaboration, to be able to get the rebate, you have to sell, let's say, a minimum of $300K within that 6-month period. Because solution specializations kind of mudded things up a little bit. And obviously you can't say, hey, we have a minimum spend, but these solutions are kind of, multi-architectural. They're all over the board. How are we going to do that? They basically said, hey, we're stepping back from that. And what we're going to do is we are going to make a minimum purchase requirement that's blanket across the board, utilizing all of the VIP SKUs to be able to say, hey, within that 6-month period, as long as you sell 1.8 million in those Cisco SKUs within that 6-month period, then you are eligible for basically everything across the board, including those solution specializations. So this includes the architecture specializations, something called VIP annuity, as well as the VIP track that's new around those solution specializations.
So it seems like really the incentivization is to start selling these complete solutions instead of kind of piecemealing things together, by putting together this rebate program and bundling it with the specializations, these tracks. Is it then kind of encouraging partners to stop looking at selling as a X widget or Y widget to sell and more of a complete solution, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I would say not necessarily stopping.
Yeah,
because those architecture, that VIP rebate structure under the architecture specializations is still very well and good. It's still complete. It's still part of VIP 41. I would say that the solution specializations is kind of a different track, it is, I would say, and this is just my opinion as a consultant, but I would say this is a long-term goal for Cisco to kind of move away from these more focused architecture, these silos of architectures, and get towards these solution specializations as well.
That makes sense.
We didn't really mention it, but one of the big pluses, I would say, for the solution specializations is that all of it, from an enablement perspective, all of the trainings themselves are all, for the most part, outside of maybe one with SASE, everything is done on what's called Cisco Black Belt. And if you're not familiar with that, Cisco Black Belt is basically their training platform. They do things like new hire trainings, kind of, hey, here's a new product training, right? All of it's kind of, recorded content. But Cisco Black Belt is kind of the training platform that a partner can go and get, let's say, again, hybrid work from office by going through this Black Belt content, by taking a quiz here and there. They don't have to go out to a Pearson VUE testing center. They don't have to pay the $80 or $300, depending on what it is, to, fail the test and then take it over again, right? And, all that. It's like any other kind of e-learning platform where there's a few, maybe some PDFs, lots of video content. You go through that, the occasional quiz just to kind of, hey, here's the end of module 2. Here's a 10 question quiz. You get 3 tries to do it. If you don't pass it within those 3 tries, you get 24 hours to go for it again. But at the end of the day, it's basically a zero cost to partners. And it's something that with the partners that I've worked with since it came out, I've had partners get it completed within a week. That's the entire program, submitting the request to be part of that program and that being accepted.
Yeah. So then, Bobby, for the partners that maybe are not then qualifying for these VIP rebates, I guess, what would you say to them?
Yeah, for those partners, I would definitely say that there are some other rebate opportunities for them that Cisco has put together. They've been around for quite a while, but they're kind of tweaking the program to kind of more align with VIP 41 with those partners that may not be eligible anymore. One of them specifically is called Perform Plus. So Perform Plus is another back-end rebate program, but rather than, kind of focusing on specializations and selling specific SKUs, it's all around selling an architecture in general, and it focuses on consistent growth across quarters. So basically you grow and grow, and every quarter that you consistently grow, you get more and more of kind of a bonus rebate from there.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, as we do start to wrap up our episode, we always ask our guests the same final question. And that's, where do you see technology going in the next year? So, of course, it's a broad question, but within this space or anything else a little bit outside of broad of that, where are we going to be at this time in 2024?
Boy, if I had a crystal ball for that, right?
Exactly.
I would say, and I mean, it's just one of those things that has been just the buzzword over the last, I think, month or two would be AI. We've seen some pretty big jumps over the last, even, like I said, 1 or 2 months that has really brought it into the forefront of most technologies that we touch. Because of that, I think in this environment, I think you're going to see a lot of, kind of automated selling, things that Ingram is doing kind of in the background too, to kind of, automate the experience for customers to go through, the selling cycle. Even Cisco is kind of taking a lot of its, tools that used to be these little disparate pieces that you'd go and you'd learn about this over here, or, you'd connect to this program over here, and they're putting them all into one tool to make all of that process much more automated so that your average, Cisco seller can really focus on going out and having those solution conversations and not having to worry about whether or not they're going to spend the next, 3 or 4 hours, building out a CCW quote and kind of all of that stuff that, that's a bit of the minutia on the back end. So as we see kind of more automation in general, I think you're going to be able to kind of take people away from those mundane projects and be able to have them go out and have those real world solution conversations instead.
Got it. Well, for listeners who have any questions about what we talked about, have a specific question and want to reach out, how can they do that?
Well, it should be pretty easy, actually, if they just contact their Ingram Micro sales rep, the Ingram Cisco SSE, or even my technology consultants group as well, including myself, Robert Young. Get a hold of any of us. We're a pretty small group, but we like to, to build out these types of conversations with you, and we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the time and the insight today. Bobby, thanks so much for joining me.
Shelby, thanks for having me.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. If you like this episode or have a question, please join the discussion on Twitter with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Until next time, I'm Shelby Skrhak.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk by Ingram Micro. This episode was sponsored by Ingram Micro Xvantage. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production between Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. To listen to this episode and many others, visit ingrammicro.com.